I have two sons that I love. Like you, I have a son in the audience today. This question is not meant to be disrespectful.
Sounds like it's going to be, but go ahead.
But it's a question I have to ask.
Okay.
Someday your son Howard will become Berkshire's non-executive chairman. Berkshire is a very complex business, growing more complex as the years pass. Howard has never run a diversified business, nor is he an expert on enterprise risk management. Best as we know, he hasn't made material stock investments, nor has he ever been engaged in taking over a large company. Away from the accident of birth, how is Howard the most qualified person to take on this role?
Well, he's not taking on the role that you described. He is taking on the role of being non-executive chairman in case a mistake is made in terms of who is picked as a CEO. I think the probabilities of a mistake being made are less, but they're not 0 in 100. And I've seen that mistake made in other businesses. So it is not his job to run the business, to allocate capital, do anything else. If a mistake is made in picking a CEO, having a non-executive chairman who cares enormously about preserving the culture and taking care of the shareholders of Berkshire, not running the business at all, it will be far easier to then make another change. And that he is there as a protector of the culture, and he has got an enormous sense of responsibility about that, and he has no illusions at all about running the business. He wouldn't have no interest in running the business. He won't get paid for running the business. He won't have to think about running the business. He'll only have to think about whether the board and himself, but as a member of the board, but whether the board may need to change the CEO. And I have seen many times, really many times, over 60 plus years, or well, probably 55 years as a director, times when a mediocre CEO, likable, not dishonest, but not the person who should run it, needs to be changed. And it's very, very hard to do when that person is in the chairman's position. It's a bit easier now that you have this procedure where the board meets at least once a year without the chairman present. That's a very big improvement in my view in corporate America, because a board is a social institution, and it is not easy for people to come in, we'll say, to Chicago or New York or Los Angeles once every 3 months, have a few committee meetings, and maybe have some doubts about whether they really got the right person running it. They may have a very nice person running it, but they could do better. But who's going to make a change? And that's the position that the non-executive chairman, in this case Howard, would be in. And I know of nobody that will feel that responsibility more in terms of doing that job as it should be done than my son Howard.
Yeah, I think the Mungers are much safer with Howard there. You got to remember the board owns a lot of stock. We're thinking about the shareholders. We're not trying to gum it up for the shareholders.
Yeah, after my death, whatever it may be in terms of value then, but it would be $50 billion worth of stock. Will over a period of time go to help people around the world. That makes an enormous difference. Whether that the company behind that stock is doing well or not. And both Charlie and I we've seen some more than one example of where a CEO who might be a 6 on a scale of 10 and is perfectly likable and has perhaps helped select some of the directors that sit there and continues to run the business year after year when somebody else could do it a whole lot better. And it can be hard to make that. Very hard to make that change if that person controls the agenda and, keeps everybody busy when they come into town for a little while. And
You can have a CEO that's 9 out of 10 and everything, but with deep flaws too.
yeah,
It helps to have some objective person with a real incentive sitting in the position Howard will be in.
the example I've used in the past, I mean, is that blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. But after they inherit the earth, will they stay meek? Well, that could be the problem. If somebody got made CEO of Berkshire, it could be a position where people might want to throw their weight around in various ways. You may have noticed that in the annual report, in terms of our newspapers, I said, I am not going to be telling them who to endorse for president. 10 of them endorsed Romney, and 2 endorsed Obama. I voted for Obama, but I'm not going to change that. But when I write that sort of thing, I'm trying to box in my successor to some degree too. And we do not want somebody using Berkshire Hathaway as a power base in the future. We want them to be thinking about the shareholders. It's that simple.
Sometimes somebody becomes CEO, characteristic of a once famous California CEO, and they used to say about him, he was the only man who could strut sitting down.
Mm-hmm.